Alright, you know how every now and then I'll be talking about gold and silver and banking and how it is strongly believed, not just by myself, but a lot of, you know, experts, if you will, in the metals market and abroad, that these bankers, central banks as well, um, like I've been saying, JP Morgan, they probably lent out the same pile of gold or silver to multiple parties for multiple reasons because they know all of those parties are never going to come ask for all of it all at once, and that they'll need pieces of it here and there, and they'll store it safely with JP Morgan or whatever. In the past, hundreds of years ago, back when people used to bring their gold around, well, a lot of people didn't feel comfortable, hauling their gold around in a, horse and buggy or anything. So the banks came out with a brilliant idea that we'll have different banks all over the area, and you can store your gold at any one of the banks. We'll write you basically a check, or we'll give you a check for the amount you have. You can go in and say, I need, such and such amount. Give me it out of this location so I don't have to travel way over there where I deposit my gold. This place is closer to my house. I'm going there. I need, 10 ounces of gold. Here's my check that says I have this amount, or I'm calling it a check, but, you know, deduct that amount and give me, from your pile here. And they would. And naturally, the bankers realized no one ever comes in and asks for all their gold. So let's try to use that to our advantage and lend it out and do other things with it to other parties. And naturally, that blew up in their face eventually. And you can imagine the idiots who felt like that was the best thing to do in the world instead of having it in their own possession. Comes back to bite the people every single time. So, having said that, I just had to do this video. I was just about to go to bed. I was reading up on Harvey Organ's blog, and he basically, this is like the first time I've ever read it where he says this, basically what I just said, that he thinks all this gold that's out there, all these countries that have their gold outside of the borders like Venezuela did, and then they decide, yeah, let's get that gold back. There's a lot of countries out there that did the same thing Venezuela did. Yeah, they've got some on hand, but a lot of it's also overseas somewhere, namely Federal Reserve, United States, or B, somewhere in London, with that government. So this is an interesting story. Now he says here, the following is very interesting if Kelkar wins, that's the guy's last name, Kelkar, wins and forces the Bank of India to retrieve most of its foreign-held 265 tons of gold that's repatriated. It is my contention that much of the Bank of England's gold has been lent out to various operations and or swapped with entities such as GLD and SLV for silver. As I have mentioned to you on previous occasions, I do not think that Venezuela got any of its gold stored at the Bank of England. I think it would be safe to assume that the Bank of International Settlements has gold stored there belonging to India, who in turn loaned India money to help in international settlements. We will have to wait and see how this case develops. But here's the actual case from an Indian website. Indian Central Bank challenged in court to repatriate country's gold by a single average person in India who read the law from 1934 that says up to, or not up to, but 85% of that country's gold, India's gold, must be within its own borders, safe and sound. That's the law. So he basically kind of filed a Freedom of Information Act request and recognized this issue, filed a complaint in court. How could he not win? It's in the books. It's in the laws of India, whatever law it is. It's section 33(5) of whatever. Let me just read this. A technocrat turned public interest litigant, Mr. Kelkar, has challenged the Reserve Bank of India's move to deposit abroad 265.49 tons of gold out of its total stock of 557 tons by filing a public interest litigation in the Bombay High Court, and has demanded that the precious metal be brought back into the country according to the provisions of the law. Keklar, 56, who used to manufacture computers, has filed the petition as he found that the move by the central bank contradicts Section 33(5) of Reserve Bank of India Act of 1934, which stipulates that 85% of the bank's gold reserves should be kept in India. Notice how it was a move by India's central bank that decided to do that with the gold. Isn't it amazing that it's always the country's central bank that makes that decision? And yet, you look into India's central bank, and there's Indian people running it. You go into London or wherever, the ECB, and you got people in the Eurozone running it. You come over to America, and we've got Americans, Mr. Ben Bernanke and friends. Yet the central banks always do the same thing. And it's as if the central banks or the elite put in power their system, which is the central banking system. Other countries follow suit, and somehow they convince these other central banks to do what our central banks do, or the rest of the central banks do, and they just follow it as if it's normal. So if the law states you cannot have more than 15%, basically, because it's 85%, you cannot have more than 15% of your country's gold in India outside of the country's borders. But the Federal Reserve, I don't know what it's called over there, but it's the central bank. We'll call it the Federal Reserve of India. Decided, no, let's go ahead and get 200 something, 265 tons out. So if this guy wins, he says that he has a petition. He raised a question in the petition, quote, in case there is a war between India and England in the future, will our gold held by Bank of England be safe? And that is a fantastic way of putting that on paper for them to answer. What are they going to say? Oh, that can't happen. We've done it before. We've been at war before. Legitimate concern. That legitimate concern is going to be a massive thorn in the side of that central bank and the elite. Because as Harvey Organ says, and myself, the gold that they've got in store is absolutely, positively being used for other things. So first Venezuela did it, and we had to urgently go after Gaddafi and get his gold immediately. We snatched that gold up so fast it made our head spin. Right around the same time, Venezuela was asking for its gold back. Interesting. I wonder what's going to happen if this goes through and he wins and says, and it's not like he wants the gold. He's just a concerned citizen of his country saying, I'm looking at the world right now and there's a lot of posturing and stuff. What if we went to war somehow or another with England? They've got our gold. Don't you think we ought to follow the law that's on the books and bring it back here? That's all he's saying. He has made 3 demands in the petition. That the RBI be ordered to transfer the gold reserves of the country from the possession of the Bank of England and Bank for International Settlements to its own possession within the country. Another one, that until the final disposal of the case, the bank cannot be allowed to take any more gold out of the country. That's a fantastic idea. And 3, that a detailed report be filed as to which bank officers are responsible for the breach of Section 335 of the RBI Act. The price of gold deposited outside the country is about 80,000 CWAR, whatever the hell that is. Kelkar is pleading his case himself instead of appointing a lawyer. That's the most fantastic thing you ever did. Mr. Kelkar, you are a freaking awesome person. This is the kind of citizenry all countries need. Those 3 requests that you put in that petition are absolutely spot on. Not only do we need to get our gold back, we want to know which central bank personnel specifically ordered the removal of it to go out and violated the law. And bear with me, I could just imagine if by chance it happens to be some kind of puppet of one of our elitists. And we look at that guy, oh hey, he went to Princeton or Harvard or Yale. He's one of the boys. He authorized it. Could you imagine if that's what they end up finding out? Who knows? The bottom line is, if they suck that 265 tons, as a matter of fact, minus 15%, so it's not quite 265, back into the country, what's that going to do to the GLD vaults, right? The gold vaults all across the world that these our Crimex, aka the Comex, and the boys have been using in double, triple, quadruple dipping and selling and reselling and relending to people because they've been saying to themselves, we've had this gold for years and years and years. It hasn't been touched. It's ours. We do what we want with it. Oh, what? Hold on. What's that? India wants its gold back. Oh, crap. Damn it. We just barely got by the skin of our teeth with Gaddafi's gold. Whew. That was only 80 or 90 tons, 90-something tons. Damn it. Now they want 200-something tons back? What are we going to do now? Don't know, suckers. What are you going to do? But I can't wait to see. It's time to get the popcorn ready soon. Can't wait to see. And I hope in his country it works in his favor. I mean, this is a very solid case. There's no way, in my opinion, they're going to come back and say, well, we have the authority because of this and this. No, the law states 85% must remain in the country, plain and simple, for any reason. Explain that. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's get the gold back. And you might find, since you're at it, and you brought up a good point about if we went to war, we don't want our gold abroad. Let's go ahead and get the whole entire 100% rather than leave 85% over there. Let's get the whole 100%. Stick a nail right through Jamie Dimon's, J.P. Morgan, and Goldman Sachs companies' hearts. This is the kind of thing. This is so interesting that the year is 2012 because I studied a lot regarding the Mayan calendar a while back and saw lots of documentaries that you normally don't see on TV where Mayans are speaking and telling about things, and they're basically saying we're entering a time period, and 2012 basically marks the date where all the lies start to get exposed, all the evil stuff gets exposed. It must make way because we're entering what they call a new world, not a new world order, or a new age, a new paradigm, a fifth world from the fourth world. It is entering a time period of change. Ultimately, it leads to good change. Now, naturally, because the people in power don't like that kind of change, they want their kind of change and where they stay in power, which isn't going to happen, so they're going to have to fight tooth and nail. So that's not going to be pretty, the little interim period. But it was interesting that they said all these lies will be exposed, all these lies will come out. It has to make way for the truth. Wash away the old, in with the new. And right in 2012, I mean, look at recent times right now, all the just things that have happened globally, financially, you know, including even, you could throw last year in there with Gaddafi and the war starting and a lot of stuff, because one thing I don't know for certain, well, I think it's kind of obvious that it's not going to be December 22nd, 2012 or December 21st, 2012 that, you know, stroke of midnight, you know, the bankers go away and everything gets fixed. No. I think it's just a period of time that marks it solidly. Get ready for big change. And look at what's already happened. Again, with J.P. Morgan, the video I did before this. Oh, it's fantastic. That dirty bastard of a company lost huge, and I freaking love it. God, it feels good. Anyways, take care.